Ladies and gentlemen, this is a KPI pro tip. It's way too early in the morning. Leaving Melbourne, just did a KPI rendezvous last night with about 60 of our clients in Melbourne, which was very cool. Heading back to Sydney now to give a talk at Net Registry, actually, or to be on a panel to be more specific, to talk about the future of technology. And this is an insight that I got from my dad. And my dad is not what you would call a typical entrepreneur. For those of you that know me or know my dad, he's known as Captain Ron. My family and I sailed around the world when I was young for 7 years. Been to 46 countries before I was 14. And my dad was a boat builder. He was in the Navy before. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to go tell this whole story. So my dad went to my nana and my mum's mum and said, there's something missing. And he's like, it's not Gloria, his wife, my mum. He's not Glenn, me. The family's good. But he said, I still feel like something's missing. And my nana, who's like 96 now, said something to him that he recounted to me, completely changed his life. She said, if you're on your deathbed and looking back at your life and there was one major regret, what would it be? And Dad said that my nana said later to him that quick as a flash, his response was sail around the world. Straight away. He'd been building boats in the Navy since he was 15. The ocean was his thing. And so she just looked at him and said, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Which I think is cool. And he went, okay. So he built the boat over 18 months. He mobilized resources within the Navy in some pretty cool ways. He probably couldn't get away with these days. Built a boat, off we went, sailed around the world. Left when I was 6, got back when I was 14. And I always have this memory, or these memories of Dad with his head in the bottom of a bilge or in the bottom of the engine room, fixing something, you know, curse words coming out after he's hit his head or, you know, ripped his elbow open on something, like just constantly working. And then a few months ago, actually earlier this year, I went over with a couple of friends of mine to the Philippines, which is where Dad lives now on his boat, sails around the like a couple of thousand islands in the Philippines, living the dream. Same thing, right? Always fixing something, always working on something. And I said to him, Dad, like, what is it? Because I love being on a boat for a period of time, but I wouldn't want to live on one. You wouldn't want to get me living on a boat ever again. And yet that's just Dad's thing. And I'm like, what's that about? You're always fixing a problem. There's always something going wrong. You're always working on some kind of issue or some kind of problem. You know, why do you do it? And he just looked at me and he said, that's why I love it. That's why I love it. Solving the problems. And it was a pretty profound moment for me because I realized that I actually really like solving the problems in my business. And, you know, business is just one continuous, never-ending problem-solving thing that you've got to do. And if you hate solving the problems in your business, you're probably in the wrong business. You know, and the insight from my dad was that you've got to love the work. You've got to love the problem-solving. If you're doing something in a hope that eventually it's going to get good, it's going to feel hard the whole time. And I kind of think of this idea that the moment you stop waiting for it to get easy is the moment it stops feeling hard. And when I applied that to my business, there was a huge shift. And I could imagine people in fitness, you know, going to the gym, wanting it to be easy. I mean, that would be a weird mindset to have as someone who wanted to get fit. No, they're going to the gym specifically because it's hard. I love JFK's speech saying by the end of the decade we're going to put a man on the moon. We don't have the resources, we don't even have the industries to create the technology that we would need the resources for yet. Like, nothing exists to be able to do this, and yet we're going to embark upon this objective not because it is easy, but because it is hard. And that's what changed the world. So that's a bit of a KPI pro tip. I hope that's something that can be useful for you and applied into your own world. I hope you don't mind the self-indulgent story. If you've got anything you'd like to ask me, put it in the comments below. Ladies and gentlemen, over and out.